Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to open a file and make some adjustments to it. We can crop the image, change it to black and white, extend the image background to create some extra space, and then put some text on top of that photo. So I'm going to open a new file. Right. So I'm going to edit this file. I'm going to do a couple things to it so you can see some of the different options. The first thing I'm going to do is crop it. I post a lot of photos to Instagram, and Instagram is square. So what I just did there was select the crop tool, which is this one, remember? And over here, the default is set to the ratio of the photo, which is standard photos, like a 4:6 ratio. But I went ahead and selected the square. You can do the original ratio. We'll just keep it the same ratio, length, and width, and simply change the, crop a little of the edge off. But what I want to do specifically for Instagram is make the photo square. So I can select square. You can also set your own ratio, and you can put that up here, and you can change it to anything you want. About 6:1 is going to make you a nice skinny rectangle. But again, back to what I need for Instagram, which is a square. Once that is set, then you can use the cursor to select. So click and drag. You do have to be careful because it'll allow you to drag off the actual image, and then when you crop, you'll end up getting, a black bar at the bottom, for example, here. So it does snap into place there, but to avoid any mishaps, I usually just drag it a little bit smaller if I can get away with it, so that I'm sure I'm inside the bounding box of the image and I'm not getting any black space at the end. So you can use your cursor to click and drag, or you can use your arrow keys. Usually that's not working. Okay, we're just gonna reset that. Again, you can resize the square. And it's not doing what I expected it to do. So we're just gonna drag. So drag what you want to keep into that box. And then you can either double click or press enter. And you have cropped the image. There we go. And then the next thing that I want to do is change this image to black and white. See how that might look. And you can do this before or after you crop, it doesn't matter. So here's, I selected that black and white tool. This is what pops up when I do that. I'll show you that again. Adjust. So it's image, adjust, and then black and white. There's a shortcode there. It's really helpful to learn these so that you don't have to go through the menu each time. So there we go. This pops up. Just move it away from the photo so you can see what you're doing, because you'll be able to see in real time what your changes are doing to the photo as long as this button is pressed. So preview takes that off, and then you cannot see what is happening to the photo when you make changes. When selected, then you'll be able to see those changes right away. So I always use custom for black and white. There's a bunch of different options, and you can play around with what those look like. Blue filter, darker, that one's not bad. That one's actually nice, the green filter. It will depend on the image. Infrared is gonna look a little different. But for full customization, you can start with the default, see what that happens, and then I select custom and kind of play around with what's happening. Reds are gonna because I work with a lot of babies, people, skin tones get have a lot of red in them. So that's what we're seeing right in here. And some of them won't do a lot. Sometimes it will help with the contrast to do one color, like yellow is often in a lot of my photos as well. So something like that, then you have a black and white photo. Okay. So I can be done there. I can post that. I'm going to undo what I did down here in your history. You can undo the black and white by just simply clicking on that and clicking delete. Same thing, if you do the crop, it'll delete both of those actions. I want to just go back to the beginning and start over. So I'm going to click up at the top. And this is how it was when I opened the file. It still has that crop tool up. So you can just click away from that. I always go to the move tool because that won't do anything. We have one layer, so it's not going to do anything. So. But for this next part, I am going to extend this image so that I can make, for example, like a banner, something that has text. I talked about this, matching the colors. So that's what we're going to do, match the color of the text to a color in this image. So I'll use that tool, the color picker. But what I like to do is make a copy of the background for something like this. So duplicate the layer. And to get that up, I right click, duplicate the layer. And I'm on a PC, so just FYI. Background copy, that's fine. Just default. The short code for this is Control-J, which is really easy. So then you have a copy, and the reason I do a copy is because I can more easily move it around. Let's see. Can't move the background around, but I can move the copy of the background around. Do that real quick. So then I'll go to canvas size because I want to extend the size of this file. You'll see here what this is doing. It's telling you which directions it's going to get bigger or smaller in. And you might have an actual pixel size you're trying to fit on. A lot of time when we're dealing in web, digital images and websites, pixels is what we use. For the demonstration, it doesn't really matter. I don't really have a purpose for what I'm going to use this image for other than to show you. So I'm just going to guess it's 20, almost 21 inches now. So if I do 25 inches wide, maybe, and I'm starting, you can do it. You can center it, and it'll extend on both sides, and then you can just move that copy around to where you want it. So if you make a background copy or make a copy of the layer, and where you're enlarging from isn't as important because you can always move that layer around to fit where you need it. So I'm just going to do the center so you can see what that looks like. It adds background space to the sides. I would like the text to be over here. So I need to have space. So I'm going to move this layer over. And when you're on the layer, if you click Shift and then move it, it will stay. See how that's staying within that bounding box, those pink lines. So it's not going to slip off the file there. I don't really need this background file underneath it right now, so I just removed that from visibility so I don't get confused. So the next thing I'm going to do, I selected the selection tool, the rectangular marquee tool, and I want to extend this background. And the easiest way to do this, super easy, select that blank space while you're on the layer that you are wanting to edit. And I right click and some options come up, and the option that I want to use is fill or content aware fill. I've gotten into the habit of clicking fill, and then I just select content aware from here. But within this, there's a lot of other options. So if you want to do something different, you can do that from the drop down. But content aware is the default here. And I just press OK. And it's going to extend that backdrop using AI. So it's not perfect. Sometimes you can try and try again, and you'll get a different result. I can clean this up with a quick like a patch tool or a clone tool, but I won't get into that right now. So what I want to do is text layer. I kind of want this to be extended a little. So I'll go to my text tool. And again, there's two different ways to add text. I always click and drag and make a box that is a paragraph. I think it's the easiest to edit, the easiest to format. The other option, if you just click, you get a line, but then it will just keep going indefinitely off the page. And if you want it to be two different lines, you have to go in there and format it manually. To me, that's pain. So again, when I add text, I click and drag and create a bounding box of where that paragraph is going to be. Even if it's a title, a single word, this is what I do. You can select your font up here. Size. There we go. And then you can select the color here. So the color, this is what pops up. Again, if you have the text selected, like I do, it will change it. Or if you don't have any text in the box and you click this, it will change the text color. I do want you to see what I'm changing. So this is all. And then for this, I did press the return key to get the different paragraphs here, but it would, had I not done that, just a space would do the same thing. I am currently on Justify because I was showing you some other tools and I don't want to be. Okay, so that's why that looked funky. So, inspired newborn photos. Okay. I like to adjust this box so that it just covers my text area, so that if I am to edit that box and resize it, I'm just selected on the words, and I don't get confused by how large the bounding box is. So that's what we have. You can move it around. And if you need to go back to it, click the text key again and just click anywhere inside that text, and you'll be back inside that editing capability. So I've selected the text. I'm going to change the color using the color picker tool. So you can select from here any color of the rainbow that you wish. Or if you move your cursor out of this pop-up box onto the image, then you can select color from the image. And I usually play around. Obviously this is dark backdrop, so I'm searching for a lighter color. This color in the middle of the rose here is going to be too dark, but the lighter oranges on the outside might work. Okay, something like that. That's a starting point. You can kind of wiggle it around, find something that you like. This is pretty good. It's pretty orange. And you can always make minor adjustments here if you want. It gets you, like I said, a starting point. Adjust it as you see fit. and press OK. And then you have that color. There's a lot of different things that you can do with text, with editing it to, make it pop, things like this. But this is the basic. Pick a color that is contrasting to the backdrop. You'll be able to read it. So that was some real quick changes you can make to an image to use it for a specific purpose. I talked about Instagram, needing a square image for that, ideally. Black and white if you want to stylize the image, extending the image background if you want to make a banner, for example, like a Facebook banner title image, adding some text to that so that you can use that for marketing purposes. I hope that helps get you started for repurposing images to use on social media or in your other projects.